All right, so we're gonna do what if Deku was the only guy with a quirk remastered version, right? And the reason I really don't know how I'm gonna proceed with this, because like the only main difference that I'll be able to do is make the story more cohesive, right? And make more sense without having too many plot holes. So first things first, we're gonna start it off with I'm gonna say almost like I'm gonna keep a good chunk of stuff the same, but I'm gonna like start switching it up. So y'all put some suggestions down in the comments. Also tell me what what if y'all want me to continue? What if y'all want? Y'all need to talk to me. Okay, anyways. We got what if Deku was the only guy with a quirk? Dude, young age, I'm not gonna say he got bullied or whatever. He aspired to be a hero, and for a good little bit, he thought he was quirkless. So what he did was he went on the mountains of mountains and did some big body training and learned how to use energy, to harden his body. He also learned how to sense without seeing. And he also developed a special, unique ability that most people aren't able to use called King's Power or something to that effect. Yeah. Anyways, so after that, a while or whatever, he discovered he actually did have a quirk, but he was a late bloomer. So, for a good chunk of his life, he was kind of like an Asta. He was he just always knew he's like, I'm gonna do this. Like, but he wasn't shouting or nothing with it. He was just like, I'm gonna do this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, people. There we go. All right, so your boy did all the training, did all the stuff. So man's been gone for many years. I mean, it's kind of weird because in this society, guys don't have big president. They're not like the main focus. It's the females and the heroes. So it's almost kind of like a good chunk of guys are simps and then the females are in charge, but it's not even like they're in charge. They're just like how do I put it in a sense to make sense? It's like lions and lions and I don't know what the female variation is, but basically it's kind of like how the female lion or whatever, she goes out and get the food while the king lion stays at home or like protects the area. The only difference is generally if you would have like a hero couple, the guy is like the air quote manager while the female's out doing air quote the legwork. This is the best way to give y'all kind of like a precedent on how the society works and stuff. And so I'm also going to keep it true to the point where some guys have quirks, but it is extremely rare. Okay, so keep that in mind too for future parts. Now everyone's doing the training. I mean, not everyone's doing the training. When Deku comes back from his basically almost like not really 15 years, but 15 years of training, a really long time of training. This is going to be around the UA time, when the entrance exam and all that stuff comes into play and stuff, right? Because he's going to be a pioneer for guys to want to become pro heroes. So dudes, in the woodworks, he's like, ooga booga, I'm in this piece. So Deku decides he's going to go ahead and come out and be like, yeah. So he comes back to the city. And once again, a villain is attacking South City. All right. Not really a city, but I'm just going to say that city. All right. And no one can do anything. And Deku's like, I see. And I'm going to say it's multiple villains. So this way your boy can flex. So first things first he does, he's like, should I use my katana, my bow stuff, or my nunchucks? I'll use actually, I won't even touch you. Yo, villain. Villain, I'm going to say it's a big, ugly creature. Obviously, it's a female, no pun intended. And it's like, what? Oh, I see a puny man. Perfect. I needed something to crush under my feet. So she's stomping or whatever, and Deku with his hands in his pocket with a robe almost kind of S-like around him and like one of those monk-like hats, looks up and says, cracks neck a little bit. I'm gonna enjoy this. How many are there are you? You don't need to worry about that since you're gonna be dead meat. He said, all right, flexes, good night, or he just sleep. And then the villain goes to sleep, gets knocked out, and he looks down at the giant brute. All right, that's taken care of. Using his abilities to once again, this isn't part of his quirk. Using his abilities to sense around the surrounding, he's able to pinpoint where the other ones, where the other villains are at. So with speed, at incredible speed, he's dashing forward. He goes, grabs his bow staff, switches, and increases the bow staff's hardening to make it harder enough for him to strike down this pterodactyl villain. But the skin was harder than iron, so he was able to pinpointly attack her. He took her down. Immediately had to go across the other side of the city with like insane speed. He threw up his bow and it also started swinging. While it was swinging, he cocked his left arm and then flinged the bow. Like, so he did like a full swing and then flinged his bow at crazy pinpoint accuracy, knocking out the next villain. Then there was only 2 villains left, but one was stronger than the other. So he decided to go ahead and take out the weak one. Basically with, once again, incredible speed, sneaking up on this villain, hardening up his hand as about as hard as he can, both of his hands. So he took something like similar to a boxer stance because the villain he was fighting had like a, we'd just say they had knives ability where they're able to conjure up knives of all sorts. So Deku's like weave, 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 and he's just doing a lot of bob and weave, jabs, jab. And then eventually he hits a low-key Dempsey roll and he's like, Deku, run! And everyone's like cheering. They're like, our salvation, victory! He's like, shut up! Everyone, I need y'all to all evacuate this area as fast as possible. And he's telling them which way to go because the next villain is a strong one. And Deku's running. He gotta go. So Deku's down a weapon, okay, because he threw his bow staff to, make up for his distance. And then he pulled up to this next villain, and then a massive heat wave is going off everywhere. He's like, God, dog. Blue flames are going everywhere. Like, it is going crazy. And he's like, what in the heck? Oh, that's hot. He sees a whole individual. We're not going to determine the person's gender just yet, all right? I'm going to let y'all tell me what y'all think would be more interesting because I already got my pre-idea, but if I don't get none in the comments of this video, don't do well, or does well enough, but not too many people comment, don't worry. I got my own ideas. But so Deku's like, whoa, who are you? The individual, if I say a gender, I don't mean the gender, okay? The individual looks at Deku. Let me show you the power of cremation. Boom, blue flames going everywhere. Deku's like, bob and weave. He's like, all right, bet. So he hardens up his whole body. He's like, I can only last like this for 5 minutes. So Deku takes a stance. He's like, listen, this is about to be a 5-minute bout. If you outlast me for 5 minutes, you win. Good luck. Deku grabs both of his nunchucks and starts swinging them like a professional. So he's got to close the distance and fast. With a mix of using his body hardening technique and also using his surveillance without his eyes, he's able to close in the distance. But this only made it worse because he thought he had a chance against this assailant. But no, he didn't, because this person knew hand-to-hand too. Not only did this person know hand-to-hand, but this person also knew how to use their individual quirk to enhance their hand-to-hand. So when they're throwing a punch, they also have like the back of their elbow to extend and make the punch faster. So let's get into it. So Deku's but this person's using his flames. Not a guy, once again, just to make sure. The person's using their flames to like bob and weave, but also throwing attacks. It's not a refined fighting style, but it's a unique fighting style, which is somewhat throwing Deku off. But Deku's also able to counter with his nunchucks because his nunchucks are also infused with his body hardening. And he's like, so it's like a clash of his titans going at it. And like you just see flame everywhere. Meanwhile, Deku is able to generate just enough force to like redirect it. So what he does is he's using both his nunchucks in tandem to like help him generate, a good amount of like air pressure around him to protect him from most of the flame. So basically he's using like if y'all have ever seen Killer Bee, he's using like a kind of Killer Bee fighting style, like how he uses all the swords. That's kind of what Deku's doing. So he's like whoo, whoo, hop. So he's throwing punches, kicks in there. So he's just doing all of this while flames are going off everywhere. But what Deku really was doing this whole time, right, is as he was fighting and repositioning and throwing and repositioning, kicking and throwing, he was still able to sense his surroundings, right? So they were in a central area. So Deku kept getting closer and closer to where water's at. But Deku had to keep the fight going just a little bit longer because he's around that 3 minute and 30-second mark. So Deku's like, whoo, whoo. So what he starts doing is, since he wants to, juice it out a little bit, he starts focusing on because he needed to know, right? He needed to know where he was going to be getting hit from. But since he's only taking like brief encounters of damage, he said, I'm going to have to take some of these burns to the chin. So what he does was he started focusing most of it around his like forearms and basically keeping it on his weapon too, and somewhere around like his shin. So it's not his full body that's going to be protected. So it's almost like it's a spot type of hockey all over this dude's body, right? So it's like spots, but mainly no pun intended, the hot points, all right? So he's like, I'm not done yet. So what he does now is he does a special function. These are not really legendary nunchucks, but we're just gonna say that they're like the legendary from where he came from, right? So he pulls on the bow staffs. I mean, not bows. He basically makes a really long bow staff. So he puts it all together, but since it's fully extended, what he does now is he starts using it like it's a giant whip. So he's like generating all of this force, and like he's pursuing this dude. So imagine 2 long nunchucks. He put those bad boys together, and he's going stupid. He's smacking this villain left and right. But the villain's not taking a sit down. The villain himself or herself is getting some good licks in. And don't forget, these hits are not regular hits. These hits got fire fist behind it and momentum behind it. So these kicks, hits, couple hits to the shin. Deku's like, right? So all of this is happening. The fight's stupid. It's epic. So Deku's like, here I go. So he spins with all the last bit of momentum he has, and he's like, jumps at a slight angle, but not really too high because he's staying pretty grounded. And then he like flicks the bow staff, or the nunchuck bow staff, and he puts all the remaining energy he has into it while thrusting it. And then when he hits the assailant, he flicks it back, right? So what this does is the one nunchucks that he's already keeping on his person, because he's gonna put that back. The one that's still a mini bow staff flings out with a whole bunch of pressure. But that didn't. The individual villain was like, what did you think that was gonna do? That did nothing. Deku takes his stance. Steam comes out of his mouth. He grabs the left side, basically where his left cheek is at. He grabs his sword. Mutters some weird stuff to himself. And then, for a brief moment, everyone that was able to witness this could have sworn they saw a dragon. Or was it a lion? Or was it a demon? But no one had time to ponder it, because all they heard was I barely won. And then with that ferocious lightning speed strike, The villain wasn't dead. What ended up happening, right, was the villain got shot back, but a couple of slashes hit him. You know what I mean at this point. Hit him, boom, fell into the water. Everyone was like, yeah, victory, victory. But no, Deku knew better. What burns all over him, low on energy, and only having his katana in hand and his spare nunchucks that he kept. Having his katana in hand, he knew it wasn't over. The villain. All you could hear, everyone was like, we did it. Not really we did it, but everyone's like, yes, victory, victory, scream. Deku didn't want to say nothing because he didn't have the energy to argue. But as the water seemed to settle and the bubbles stopped, everyone felt it. A raging fire began to brew. The blue flames grew hotter and hotter. And the villain, looking angry as ever, with a newfound scar all over his chest and on their face, and a couple of minor ones. With the villain exhausted and angry and furious, about to strike Deku down, but Deku took his stance once again, ready to go risk it all for the biscuit. And then a black portal opens up and says, no more. Come back home. And before everyone knew it, the villain was gone. The other assailants were taken capture. And that's where we leave this part off.